The barista hands me my latte, her smile a little too bright for this hour.
My card. Declined.
A flush of heat crawls up my neck. Try it again. I manage, my voice barely a whisper. She does. Declined. The small, everyday transaction, suddenly a public shaming. My perfectly curated morning, the scent of expensive coffee, the crisp feel of the newspaper I haven't even opened. It all curdles. There must be a mistake. A system glitch. I fumble for another card. A debit card this time. One linked directly to our joint savings. Declined. The word echoes in the sudden quiet of the bustling café. Heads are turning. The shame is a physical weight, pressing down on my chest, making it hard to breathe. This isn't just an error. This is a message. A cold, hard, digital slap in the face. My husband, Mark, wouldn't. He couldn't. My fingers tremble as I pull out my phone, a sense of dread so profound it's almost paralyzing. The banking app loads with agonizing slowness, each spinning icon a tick on a clock counting down to something terrible. Account balance, 0. Savings, 0. Credit cards, blocked. A wave of nausea hits me. This is meticulous. This is deliberate. This is an annihilation. If you've ever felt that sickening lurch, that moment where the ground beneath your feet simply vanishes, tell me in the comments. I read every single one. And if you haven't found your way here before, please subscribe. It means more than you can imagine to know you're listening. Just last week, life was normal. Or what I'd convinced myself was normal. Mark and I, we were a team, or so I thought. 15 years. A house in the suburbs, 2 cars in the driveway, annual holidays to places that looked good on Instagram. He was building his tech empire. Innovate Solutions, he called it. Always busy, always stressed, but always, I believed, for us. Our conversations had become transactional. Pass the salt. Did you pay the gas bill? What time is dinner? But I'd chalked it up to the pressures of success, the comfortable monotony of long-term partnership. I focused on my work as an interior designer, finding solace in creating beauty and order for others, perhaps because my own inner world was slowly, imperceptibly, becoming chaotic. I craved connection, a spark, something more than the polite roommate situation we'd settled into. But I'd buried that craving deep, under layers of routine and resignation. I remember thinking, just a few days ago, watching him across the dinner table as he scrolled endlessly on his phone, a familiar ache in my chest. Is this all there is? But I'd pushed it away. This was stability. This was what we'd built. The call comes later that morning, after I've retreated home, humiliated and terrified. Mark's voice is clipped, devoid of any emotion I recognize. Sarah, he says, as if he's addressing a stranger, not the woman who's shared his bed for over a decade. I've moved on. The accounts are frozen to protect my assets during the divorce. Divorce? My assets? The words hang in the air, cold and sharp. Moved on? Mark, what are you talking about? Protect her assets? What about our life? My voice cracks. I can hear a faint giggle in the background. A woman's giggle.
Young. Carefree.
It's like a shard of glass in my ear. It's better this way, Sarah.
Cleaner.
My lawyer will be in touch, and then he hangs up.
Just like that.
15 years. Erased with a click. The silence in the house is deafening. I sink to the floor, the expensive Persian rug suddenly feeling like sandpaper beneath my collapsing frame. The betrayal is a physical pain, a vice around my heart, squeezing the air from my lungs. He didn't just leave. He didn't just have an affair. He meticulously, callously, planned to leave me with nothing. The business, the one I'd supported him through, the late nights I'd kept dinner warm, the sacrifices I'd made, he was claiming it all. And he was using our money, my money, to do it. The first few days are a blur of frantic phone calls. To the bank, who tell me there's nothing they can do. The accounts were joint, but he initiated the freeze. To friends, who offer sympathy but little else. Some, I notice, sound distant, already choosing sides. The isolation is a chilling blanket. I managed to scrape together some cash I had stashed away for a rainy day, an irony that isn't lost on me. It's barely enough for groceries. The eviction notice for my design studio arrives a week later. Apparently, Mark had stopped paying the rent months ago, rerouting the funds. The studio was my sanctuary, my one space that was truly mine. Now it's gone too. I try calling him, texting him, emailing him. Each attempt is met with silence, or worse, a curt reply from his lawyer. All communication must go through legal counsel. He's building a fortress around himself, brick by smug brick, and I'm outside, exposed and shivering. I feel like a ghost in my own life, everything familiar stripped away. The shame of the declined card is a constant companion, a dull ache that flares up every time I have to count out coins for a coffee, every time I see pity in someone's eyes. The legal letters start arriving, thick manila envelopes filled with jargon I can't comprehend. His lawyer, a shark in a tailored suit, paints me as a spendthrift, a gold digger, someone trying to leech off Mark's hard-earned success. They demand I vacate the house, our house, the one filled with memories I now realize were mostly mine alone. Each word is a calculated blow, designed to break me. And it's working. I barely sleep. When I do, I dream of falling, of empty bank accounts, of Mark's cold, indifferent face. I see his new life splashed across social media. Photos of him with her, a woman young enough to be his intern, beaming in exotic locations, dining in expensive restaurants. Our restaurants. Our locations. He's not just erasing me. He's replacing me, flaunting his betrayal for the world to see. The injustice of it all burns like acid in my stomach. He takes everything, and I'm supposed to just disappear? The anger starts to smolder, a tiny ember in the vast wasteland of my despair. It's a flicker of warmth, a pinprick of light in the oppressive darkness. One particularly bleak afternoon, sifting through yet another pile of legal threats, I find an old, forgotten box in the attic. It's filled with my late grandmother's belongings. She was a formidable woman, a force of nature who'd built a small empire from nothing. Amidst the moth-eaten shawls and faded photographs, I find a leather-bound ledger. The Eleanor Vance Family Trust, my grandmother had set it up years ago, a safety net for her descendants. I'd vaguely known about it, but Mark had always dismissed it as old money nonsense. He'd wanted to build his own legacy, free from any perceived interference. Now, staring at the carefully inscribed details, a forgotten conversation with my grandmother surfaces. "This is for you, Sarah," she'd said, her eyes sharp and knowing. "For when the world tries to take what's yours. For when you need to fight back." A shiver runs down my spine. Could this be it? Could this dusty old trust be the weapon I so desperately need? The language is archaic, full of clauses and subclauses, but the intent is clear: to protect the Vance family assets and ensure their prosperity. And I am the sole remaining beneficiary and trustee. A tiny, almost forgotten clause catches my eye. It speaks of investments made by the trust, of its power to reclaim assets if those investments are threatened or misused. Mark's business.
Innovat Solution.
Years ago, when he was struggling to get it off the ground, desperate for seed capital, I'd convinced my grandmother to let the trust make a small but significant investment. He'd signed the papers, eager for the cash, barely glancing at the terms. I remember him scoffing. "Just a formality, darling. Your grandmother's little hobby," he'd forgotten. But I hadn't. And the trust, it seemed, had a very long memory. The despair that had clung to me like a shroud begins to lift, replaced by a cold, clear focus. He thought he was smart. He thought he had all the power. He had no idea what was coming. The shift inside me is palpable. The tears dry up. The fog of helplessness dissipates. In its place, a steely resolve takes root. This isn't just about survival anymore. This is about justice. This is about taking back not just what he stole, but the dignity he tried to strip from me. I contact my grandmother's old lawyer, a shrewd, silver-haired man named Arthur Jenkins. He remembers the trust, remembers my grandmother's fierce protectiveness. When I explain the situation, a slow smile spreads across his face. Eleanor Vance was a remarkable woman, he says, his eyes twinkling. She always planned 10 steps ahead. This trust, it's a work of art. We spend weeks poring over the documents, tracing the paper trail of that initial investment. Mark had been meticulous in erasing me from our shared life, but he'd been sloppy with the business, so sure of his own invincibility. The trust's investment was a minority stake, yes, but it came with stringent conditions, conditions he'd long since violated. Misappropriation of funds, reckless endangerment of assets, failure to act in the best interest of all shareholders. The list is long. He'd used company money to fund his affair, to pay for those lavish trips, to lease the fancy apartment he now shared with his mistress. He'd treated Innovate Solutions like his personal piggy bank, never imagining that a dusty old family trust could hold him accountable. Arthur assures me the trust has the legal standing to not just sue, but to potentially seize control of his assets to recoup its losses and protect its investment. The thought sends a thrill through me, a heady mix of fear and exhilaration. This is a gamble. A big one. But for the first time in months, I feel alive. I feel powerful. Mark wanted a war. He's about to get one. While Arthur and his team meticulously build our case, I play the part of the broken woman. I let Mark's lawyer bully me. I concede to their smaller demands. I appear defeated. It's a calculated performance. Let him think he's winning. Let him grow complacent. His arrogance is my greatest ally. He's so focused on crushing me in the divorce proceedings, on seizing the house and leaving me destitute, that he doesn't see the real threat looming. He believes his business is untouchable, his fortress impenetrable. He continues to flaunt his new life. Each Instagram post a fresh twist of the knife. But now they fuel me. Each picture of him and his paramour, clinking champagne glasses, lounging on yachts, it all becomes evidence. Evidence of his recklessness, his misuse of company funds. The irony is delicious. He's documenting his own downfall. I start to notice the strain on his face in some of the photos, a subtle tension around his eyes that wasn't there before. Perhaps the thrill of the affair is wearing thin. Perhaps the cost of maintaining his new lifestyle and fighting a legal battle he thinks he's dominating is starting to bite.
Good.
Let it. I feel a grim satisfaction watching him from afar. This man I once loved, now a stranger I am determined to bring to account. The waiting is agony, each day stretching into an eternity. But Arthur counsels patience. We need to strike when he least expects it, he says. With overwhelming force, the day finally arrives. Arthur calls me, his voice calm but laced with an undercurrent of excitement. It's time, Sarah. The court has granted the injunction. We're moving on Innovate Solutions. Today, a wave of dizziness washes over me. This is it. The point of no return. There's a hearing scheduled for Mark's company, a routine quarterly review, or so he thinks. Arthur has arranged for the marshals to serve the papers there, publicly. Maximum impact. He asks if I want to be present. A part of me recoils at the thought of seeing Mark, of witnessing the fallout. But another, stronger part, the part that has been forged in the crucible of his betrayal, needs to see this. Needs to see his empire crumble, just as he tried to crumble mine. I choose a dress with care, not black, the color of mourning, but a deep, steely blue. The color of resolve. The color of ice. I do my makeup meticulously, each stroke a ritual, preparing for battle. As I drive to the downtown office building where Innovate Solutions is headquartered, a strange calm settles over me. The city outside my car window seems sharper, more vivid. The air feels charged. I'm not the weeping woman who collapsed on the Persian rug anymore. I'm Eleanor Vance's granddaughter. And I'm here to collect. The conference room is exactly as I remember it from the few company events I'd attended in the past, sleek, modern, impersonal. Glass walls, a long mahogany table, the lingering scent of stale coffee and ambition. Mark is at the head of the table, looking every inch the successful CEO. He's mid-sentence, pontificating about quarterly growth, when the doors swing open. Two uniformed court marshals step inside, followed by Arthur Jenkins, looking impeccably professional. Mark falters, his words dying in his throat. Confusion flickers across his face, quickly replaced by annoyance. What is the meaning of this? I'm in a meeting. One of the marshals steps forward, his voice devoid of emotion. Mark Peterson, we have a court order to serve you. He places a thick sheaf of documents on the polished table. Mark stares at them, then at Arthur, then, his eyes scanning the room, he sees me, standing quietly near the door. His face pales. The color drains from it so fast, he looks almost translucent. He picks up the papers, his hands trembling. As he reads, his composure shatters. The arrogant CEO facade crumbles, revealing the panicked, desperate man beneath. His eyes dart back and forth, uncomprehending, then focusing with dawning horror. Family trust? Seizure of assets? This is impossible. His voice is a choked whisper. Arthur steps forward. Mr. Peterson, the Eleanor Vance Family Trust has exercised its rights to protect its investment in Innovate Solutions, an investment you have systematically undermined through gross mismanagement and misappropriation of funds. Effective immediately, all company assets are frozen. An independent administrator, appointed by the court, will be taking control. Mark looks wildly around the room, at his stunned board members, at the impassive marshals, and then his gaze fixes on me. The arrogance is gone, replaced by a raw, unadulterated fury. You, he snarls, his voice cracking. You did this. After everything I've done for you? Everything you've done to me, you mean? I reply, my voice quiet but firm. The tremor in my hands is gone. I feel a cold, satisfying calm. He lunges, not at me, but at the papers, as if he can tear them up and make this all go away. He reads further, his face contorting. The realization of the full extent of his ruin washes over him. His business, his new life, his carefully constructed image, all of it gone. He opens his mouth, and a sound rips from his throat, a sound I will never forget. It's not a word, but a guttural scream of pure, unadulterated agony and disbelief. It echoes in the sterile conference room, a testament to his utter devastation. He's completely blindsided. He thought he was untouchable. He thought he'd won. He had no idea that the quiet woman he discarded had an ace up her sleeve, a legacy of strength he'd never bothered to understand. He didn't just lose. I won. Bigger. The aftermath is swift and brutal, for him. The court-appointed administrator moves in, and the full extent of Mark's financial recklessness comes to light. He'd leveraged the company to the hilt, funding his lavish lifestyle with debt, falsifying reports to maintain the illusion of success. His mistress, seeing the gravy train grind to a halt, disappears almost overnight. No tirfel budbais, no loyalty. Just gone like a mirage. His business associates, the ones who'd toasted his genius, distance themselves. The calls stop. The invitations dry up. He's a pariah. The divorce proceedings take a very different turn. Suddenly, he's the one with nothing. The house, which he'd tried so desperately to claim, is now a liability he can't afford. The family trust, under Arthur's guidance, systematically dismantles Innovate Solutions, selling off viable assets to recoup its investment and pay off creditors. There isn't much left. But what there is, by some poetic justice, ends up covering my legal fees and providing a small, but significant, settlement for me. It's not a fortune, but it's enough. It's more than enough. It's vindication. I watch it all unfold from a distance, a sense of detached, almost weary satisfaction washing over me. There's no joy in his complete destruction, not really. Just a profound sense of relief, of justice served. The anger has dissipated, leaving behind a quiet strength. I reclaim my design studio, the landlord surprisingly understanding once the full story comes out. I start taking on small projects, rebuilding my life, piece by piece. There are days when the ghost of what happened haunts me, the memory of his betrayal a dull ache.
But those days are fewer now.
The scars remain, but they are reminders of a battle fought and won, not of defeat. I learned to trust myself again, my intuition, my resilience. I learned that true strength isn't about avoiding the fall, but about how you get back up. The world looks different now, brighter, more authentic. I'm no longer living in the shadow of someone else's ambition, no longer contorting myself to fit into a life that was never truly mine. I am free, and in that freedom, there is a quiet, profound peace. If this story hit close to home, if you've ever had to find strength you didn't know you possessed, I'd love to hear your version in the comments. Thanks for being here with me through all of it. Subscribing helps bring more of these stories to life, and I appreciate every single one of you.